meeting. And also, we'll have call meetings to do whatever necessary business to keep the district running. We follow a written agenda. You'll see it on the boards here. We also see it on our website. If you'd like to speak to any agenda item, you must complete a speaker form, request form, which is located on the back table in the back, and pass it forward to me to talk to an agenda item. The following rules for speaking will apply. The speaker will have 3-minute time limit. All comments must be germane to the agenda item. No comments about individual students or employees, and anyone addressing the board must come to the podium or they will not be recognized. Requests must be submitted prior to the meeting time, and the meeting will commence at 5 o'clock. Please silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices as not to interrupt the meeting, and thank you for your cooperation. It's 5 o'clock and time for the meeting to commence. Thank you for your cooperation and welcome visitors. Ms. Ingram, thank you for substituting and taking roll for us. Are we ready for a roll call? We can do that.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Present.
And Ms. Harvey.
I see Ms. McGaskey and Ms. Palmer.
Here.
Right. We have a quorum. We generally start with the superintendent report, and I think today's a good day to keep that rolling, don't you, Super?
If you insist. Okay, so obviously it is August board meeting, so we have a lot going on. I want to first off, actually, I'm kind of glad that Miss Ingram is filling in because the first thing on my agenda is our school expo that happened last week. That was, as I jokingly put it, it was community outreach on steroids. I thought it was extremely well done. You know, during COVID, we had people come through the parking lot, and we wanted to get back to normalcy. And then obviously, our parking lot is not the best right now, so we did it at Prather with air condition. I think we had over 50 booths. I did not hear a negative comment except for the weather, which you got to come inside from the weather. And I'll be honest, I've been complaining about the weather for the past 2 months, and nothing's changing. So I just want to give kudos to her and her team and everyone who participated in it. I think we gave out over 2,000 backpacks, and there was literally thousands of people there, and they got a lot of good information. And to get those backpacks, they had to go to the different booths and find out about mental health care or online registration, or even how to exit their house in case of a fire. So I just thought it was great. And again, if you get a chance, just tell Miss Ingram how awesome that was. School starts next week. That should have been number one on the agenda, but school starts next week. We're going to have busing routes go out either tomorrow or Friday, so people can be looking at that. We have open houses that we're going to be putting out. Many of the schools have put them out individually, but we're going to be doing a post that has all the open houses and all their times, dates, locations, although obviously the locations will be at the schools. And we'll have all that consolidated in one area. So parents, if they have any questions, you know, we ask that you call the school. Everyone's back to work except for the teachers at this point. So we want to have them call the schools. If they can't get the answer at the school, call the district, and we'll be more than happy to point them in the right direction. The biggest call we're getting right now, I haven't registered my kid. We'll walk you through it. It's not a big deal. We will take your children. We promise. So no issues there. I want to mention today was the was day 2 of our new teacher orientation, and we were able to have a lot of our board members there, and we enjoyed a good fellowship. As I mentioned during my little opening speech to those folks, I just want to highlight how much better Natchitoches is doing it than a lot of places. My new teacher orientation 17 years ago was, here's a key. I walked out of the principal's office and then quickly realized that he hadn't even given me the room number, just the key. And that was it. It was 5 minutes. Here's your key. Oh, by the way, here's your room number. And then I was fed to the wolves, so to speak. And what we're doing is we're doing 3 days, and it's not, to overwhelm them. It's to show them how much support. So literally day 1 of that school year, they can start with every bit of information they need. They can know who Miss Page is. They can know where they go if they have a payroll question. They can know what it means to do lesson plans in Natchitoches as opposed to other districts. So I just feel like we are really, really supporting our folks. And why are we doing that? Because we know that within the first 3 years of teaching, that's when the majority of teachers decide to leave the profession. But we also know research tells us if we support them more significantly, they are less likely to leave. So just really proud of our people there. Ms. Page and her team, Mr. Legrand and his team. I'm sure all the teams were helpful. So it was just a great past few days. I kind of buried the lead with all this other stuff, but the cool thing that happened today was we had our data come out. Yesterday I was very pleased to be invited to the press conference in Bossier City, and you might say, well, why was it in Bossier? Well, the state superintendent started off by telling us that Northwest Louisiana was kind of the highlight of the entire state. Every parish in Northwest Louisiana grew. I would say we were the top one in Northwest Louisiana, and so that was exciting. And then also we were one of the top 10 gain districts for the entire state. We were one of only 5 of those districts that repeated that. And I liked what I think Coach Coleman said today at one of the meetings. He said, you can kind of fall into doing that once, but when you see it twice, that shows the strategic, intentional minded nature of what we're doing in this district. And so we're happy for our teachers, we're happy for our students, but we're really happy for our community because it just shows that we are making gains for students every year. And, put this on Facebook, quote me on it, but I believe that we can repeat that 3 years in a row because, what's 2 years? We got to have a three-peat. So I got to wake y'all up. Y'all aren't too alive right now. I'm excited to say Mr. Himes is probably going to join us next week. He's going to talk about the drama club. They have, in fact, Mr. Harris, chosen a play. So it's getting started. I think it's You're a Good Guy, Charlie Brown. They chose that because in year 1 it's relatively simplistic in terms of background, but it will include dance numbers. It will include music. It'll be very fun, but we're going to start off in year 1 with that one and then hopefully build on that in years coming. So that's his little project, but he's going to be here next week with his team to discuss all that.
What grades?
So I believe they settled on 5th through 12th because of the nature of the play. There will be times as they expand it where they'll, say you did Wizard of Oz one year, you would need some elementary kids to be, the Munchkins. But I think initially they're starting with that 5th or 6th grade on.
Okay.
So exciting stuff there. Something not too fun to talk about if you've been on the bypass lately. And I promise that was not Dr. Eloy who asked for them to tear up the road before school started. We have had very good conversations with DOTD. They have a job to do. We have a job to do. In those conversations, our first question was why? And they told us that actually it was scheduled to start 2 months later. So we're actually in a better position than we originally were because it was going to originally start in August, which would have been catastrophic. We also asked if there was an ability to do two-way on the roads that are left. That's not possible, unfortunately. But I can tell you what's going to happen is worst case scenario, according to DOTD, it will be 2 weeks into school for them to be finished. As you can tell, we have not gotten any rain in the past forever. So we believe that they're actually on their best possible outcome trajectory. Their best possible outcome is that they will be finished prior to school. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a mixture of the two. I think we're going to have a little bit of time in between. Yes, sir.
Is it completely finished, or they'll be finished with a little stretch up to the school?
I apologize.
Okay.
They will be finished with the stretch
To the
to the technical school. As of right now, if it's like it is today, come the first day of school, no one will be able to turn from University left onto the bypass. Y'all, it is a stressful situation on day one regardless. What we are asking, number one, Natchez Central is going to provide a lot of grace. I've already talked to Mr. Coleman, and they understand that first few days, maybe even that first week, maybe the first 2 weeks, it's going to be difficult. But we are strongly encouraging everyone who left at, I don't know, maybe you left the house at 6:30 last year, leave at 6:10 this year. We also have the ability from the city. The city has told us that they will allow through traffic through Park Natchitoches. So that could technically help everyone, whereas you could even be coming from before the bypass, past the bypass, go through Park Natchitoches and go through there. So they've helped us as much as possible. We had a very long meeting, but suffice it to say, we're probably going to just have a bit of a struggle bus, no pun intended, for that first week or so. But again, if there is an ability for us to pivot at the school location, like something we can change on their campus to help, we will do that. We're going to be putting out something, I believe, tomorrow that just kind of explains this all. It doesn't offer a solution. It just explains the reality of what we're living in. And y'all know I like to put a positive spin on everything. I'm sorry, Miss McGaskey. There ain't no positive spin on this one.
Let me ask, while we're talking about the traffic congestion, what about the people in the apartment complexes that live, it's about 4? Will they be given the same grace amount of time?
So when I
Kids
talked
in all the apartment complexes.
when I talked to Mr. Coleman, I said, just give grace.
I'm talking about the other schools, not just the high school.
Oh,
The
I'm
other
sorry.
schools.
You're correct. Yeah, there because the congestion is going to cause some issues everywhere. So yes, of course, yes, ma'am.
Bus is going to run earlier.
So we've been talking this through with Miss Washington. I think when she gets up here with her, Miss Washington, are you intentionally not making eye contact with me? There you go. I believe you are going to reference some of this in your report. Is that correct? Yeah, because she's been in discussions. I'll be honest with y'all. I think the best laid plans will be day one, and then we'll probably have to kind of do some tweaks after day one because I don't think any of us can fully anticipate what the congestion is actually going to look like on day one. I think we all just imagine it's going to be fun.
Yeah, because you got all those businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
Pride and Alliance and all those places.
You're right.
It's gonna be really bad.
Correct. Any other questions about busing before I move on to some, or I'm sorry, transportation and the construction before I move on to some more fun stuff?
Will there be additional law enforcement?
So I talked to the sheriff today, and I plan on talking to city police tomorrow. They always provide a really good presence, and I don't know if more in this situation will actually affect change, but we are going to have the conversation about just whatever they deem necessary, because I think they know how it's going to be. So we're going to ask for whatever they'll give us and really push to get their help on that, which they're always really helpful. So, okay. That being said, I would like to move on. I think I just segued wonderfully for you two ladies, because if you don't like traffic, what do? You go to the fair. And so we have two ladies who a much more fun thing to talk about: livestock, rides, educational opportunities. You get to bring home a goldfish if you throw the thing in the thing. I never let my son do it because I don't want a goldfish. But they're here to inform us of all the opportunities that they afford. So for the listening audience at home, we would like you to speak in the microphone. Yes, ma'am.
We appreciate y'all having us. I'm Lynn Lacasse with the Fair Board, and Julie Wolitz is handing out some sheets to y'all. We came to talk to y'all tonight about Kids Day
Thank you, Julie.
at the fair. It's going to be September 28th and 29th. And we hope all of that, the construction's finished, because it's gonna be a headache for us with the fair, with traffic coming in and out of there, getting the rides in, all that kind of stuff. But that's our problem, not y'all's. And so, y'all have enough to deal with. But what we wanna do is just kind of inform y'all of what we do with Kids Days. We've been doing Kids Days for, I would say, probably 10, 12 years now, where we invite all of the daycares in the parish, all the schools, second grade on down is what we are geared towards. We have different groups that come in, and you can see on the sheet right there, we have the SWAT team that's there. We have the fire trailer that comes in. District 6 Fire is there. The city. We have the master gardeners. And y'all can see the list of stuff there. What it is, when the kids get there, we take them, we use the FFAs from both schools, ROTCs, our livestock kids, things like that, and they act as guides for the teachers throughout the day. We do it from 8 o'clock in the morning till 12. Some of the schools won't get there till 8:30 or 9. That's fine. Some need to leave at 11 to get back for lunch. That's fine, whatever. They go around in groups to the different sections. It's all educational type things. We have a beekeeper. The library comes and reads some stories. They can go through the livestock barn. We have the carnival opens up the kids' rides and lets them ride rides. It's one of the food trailers that opens up. If the teachers want to purchase cotton candy, things like that for them, they can. Some of them don't want to, and that's fine. We also, if parents want to bring their kids and come, you know, we allow them to come, but this is more so for the kids, the school kids, and we want to make it more educational than just, hey, let's go. But a lot of times this is the only time that the kids get to come to the fair. So what we ask of y'all, and you see Echo Bus Services on there, a lot of times and Ms. Washington, you're the super or whatever. We'll come and talk to you about that again. But normally they set up a bus, an air-conditioned bus, and the kids go on there and they talk to them about bus safety. A lot of times this is the first time the kids ride buses, and even if the parents bring them to school, then field trips and things like that, they'll still be on a bus. But to get them, you know, to come around and educate them and those type of things. The board, as a rule, the last few years has paid the transportation for the kids to come. I don't really know how it's worked out, if the bus drivers volunteer their time or whatever. But, you know, in the past, it's been, everybody kind of understood that was it. But there's so many of y'all new ones here. That's why we wanted to come and discuss. And last year when we spoke to Dr. Eloy about it, he took care of doing it. And then we kind of got some comments that, well, you know, maybe y'all need to come and tell us all about it. So that's why we're here. You know, just to let y'all know that it is something, you know, that is educational for the kids to do. We'll have anywhere from 500 to 800 kids out there those 2 days on the grounds. And like I said, it's
Mr. Cass.
parish-wide.
Mr.
So-
Cass, can you cover some of the things that the Fair Board does during the course of a year? And some of the things that it do for the community and the parish as a whole, and a partnership with 4-H and all the
Just
different-
go in my 3 minutes?
No, you got a
Okay,
little bit
good.
more time.
I was wondering how I was going to tone that down anyway. Yeah, us as a fair board, it's a small group. You know, we all volunteers. We work all year long. We keep up the grounds ourselves. We do all the mowing, all the upkeep and everything on it. A lot of times we lease out the grounds we have people, last couple of months, there's been Zydeco events out there at the fairgrounds. They lease it out. They have to provide us with the insurance and things like that. This past May, we sponsored the first annual crawfish cook-off in town that the Fair Board did. We do it as a way of giving back because, you know, having to put on the fair, the rodeo is expensive. So we go out and get sponsorships for the rodeo to be able to put that on. The fair is a week, and I tell all of us, this is really the biggest thing that goes on in Natchitoches Parish. You know, you can think Christmas festival, all that kind, but that's a day, you know, or, you know, one day a weekend. This is a week long where we're out there and we are opened up to everyone in the parish. The exhibit building, you know, anyone wants to enter anything in the building, we pay out, you know, we pay premiums to the kids, the livestock, we pay premiums to them. We we have a National Pygmy Goat Association that comes in, and they have a livestock show in November.
Hey, what?
National Pygmy Goat Association. Goat.
Okay.
It's the little pygmy goats.
I'm actually a member too. I'm just,
Well, they
no
come
one
from all
believes
over.
it. No one believes it.
They come from all over. It's not, Louisiana doesn't have, a big pygmy goat but it's all over. We have people that come from Florida, Alabama, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma. They come from all over. They like to come to Natchitoches, and they come the weekend that the lights start. So that's their reason for coming. It's a 3-day show. They come in on Fridays and they leave out on Sunday. So yeah, and their judges come from like Washington State, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's a big thing. It really is. So I mean, we do have a lot of things that go on out at the fairgrounds. Y'all have any questions about anything we do? But getting back to the crawfish thing that we sponsored, all of the funds for that went to the Women's Resource Center and St. Vincent de Paul.
And didn't a Benefield win the whole thing on that?
I think that's why he
I think
brought
that's
it
why
up.
I brought that up.
No, that wasn't.
I knew
why.
there was a reason back then.
There's a reason we're talking about why
Yeah.
the Fair Board supports the community.
No, we do, but we, because we ask for sponsorships for so much, and and sponsorships for the crawfish cook-off and this, that, and everything else. So this is our way of giving back. We are nonprofit, so we're not the 501(c)(3), whatever those numbers. We're not that, but we are nonprofit. So we just try to give back and do. We help sponsor anyone that wants to have a fundraiser type thing out there. We work with you. The grounds are there. We have a good way of channeling people in and out. The fence that goes around, we can keep walking traffic, walkers and traffic separated, things like that. So it's good. But the fair, hopefully we'll get a little bit cooler weather, and hopefully we won't have a monsoon at that time. We've had that before, but we try to put it on, anyway. And like I said, we're just a small group that all volunteer, and we just,
Well, I appreciate
good time doing it.
how clean and safe y'all's fair is compared to pretty much any other fair I've ever been to. I really think y'all stands out in that regard.
we try. It's, it's an ongoing process. I mean, y'all know how it is. Yeah. We, we wand everybody when they come in. We check bags, things like that. And we've been doing it for years, so now people expect it. Yeah. And they know, what's coming when they get there and stuff. And people are feeling more comfortable about being there. And, the rodeo is going to be the weekend before, September 22nd and 23rd. And then the 24th, our horse show kicks off the week of. That Tuesday, we have an FFA competition that we sponsor, that we invite all the FFAs from throughout the state to come. Last year, we had 17 teams to come, and we give them a project, and they have 3 hours from beginning to end to complete the project. And it could be a swing, it could be a park bench, a picnic table, something like that. Como High School comes, E-Barb, Ouachita, Monroe, from all over the state, they're here. And we pay out $500, $250, and $175 first, second, and third. It's our B.B. Martin Memorial FFA competition. And we were told that we're the only ones that do this short of State Fair. So all of the advisors and things are real, they're real good about what we do.
And because of the donations we get, we're able to actually pay better premiums than the State Fair does. Not only what's we give to those people, those FFA teams, but also to the bluebilly exhibits, and our livestock exhibitors get better premiums. So we're really lucky, and we invite anybody in the parish to come. It's not just the 4-H and FFA, except for the FFA.
Yeah, the FFA. Yeah. But, and, we invite y'all to come out. Come out and see what we do. Those 2 days, Kids Days, come out and see what the kids are doing, what we're doing, how they're going around and things like that. The FFA, our opening ceremonies are going to be that Wednesday, the 27th at 6:30, 6 o'clock. And, we have different dance groups from throughout the parish come. Cheer teams, we invite all the cheer teams and stuff from the schools to come. ROTC, we kind of alternate it between Lakeview and Natchitoches Central, as to who's going to present the flag. and things like that each year. And so we just try to involve as many people in the parish as we can and to open it up. And like she said, the premiums, you put something in the blue building, as an exhibit, we pay out $5, $4, and $3 for first, second, and third. So a kid can put, a project in there, and a lot, if they have livestock, chickens, turkeys, rabbits, things, they'll catch them in the yard and bring them. Something, cattle, yes, we have to do papers on that, but the rest of it, we don't. And, some kids, they'll walk out with $400 or $500 checks, by the time it's all said and done. So, and that's what we work for each year, is to, try to be able to do that for the kids and adults also. We're talking about kids, but it's adults also. So we have adult exhibits and things like that too, so.
Well, I tried to get Mr. Watson to come with me last year and ride the, whatever it's called, but he just wouldn't, so maybe this year.
We have the freak out, we have the tilt, all that
Tilt-a-whirl,
kind of
that's what it
stuff, come on.
Tilt-a-whirl.
He'll walk out green and
Carnival, we do have the best carnival.
we do. Evans Carnival, we're the only ones that they do in the state of Louisiana. So when they do their rotation, they come down and, we have a good carnival in the back there. It fills up that back part. And, we have concession stands up front. It's just, we have fair food and we also have home-cooked food. So we try to make sure that there's something for everybody.
Before you leave, Ms. Lacasse, be sure to leave the superintendent an application for the miniature goat club.
Gotcha.
It's not the miniature, it's the National Pygmy Goat Association.
National Pygmy Goat. I'm telling you, it's good. They,
Those
we
of us
also
not
at
in the business don't understand the terminology.
difference. And at the rodeo, we have mutton busting prior to the rodeo, where eight and under can come and ride a sheep. We have calf scramble throughout the road, in midpoint of the rodeo and stuff. So, it's just a lot of things going on. So I know y'all are bombarded with school, and we're so thankful that we're out of this, and that's great. I know, Miss Page. You still sitting there with a smile on your face, and I love you for it. Well, yeah. Does anyone have any questions about any of the fair? But we sure do appreciate everything that y'all can do to help us out. And, if y'all could, pass that through for our kids' days to be able to allow the kids to come is great. And last year, I know you had let it out to the principals in the beginning, and I still got some phone calls from them saying, well, we didn't know if we actually could, because they're saying, that we're going to have to pay for the buses or
We
something.
cover the bus costs. We all.
No, but everybody's got a,
I'll send them an email tomorrow, and I'm saying it on here.
thank you.
We'll take care of that.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all so much. Because like I said, a lot of kids, that's the only time that they get to come.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Not a problem.
thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Y'all need anything out there, let us know.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see my list. Lastly, I would like to mention that Mr. Ryan Johnson with Echo, he flew down on the red eye from Wisconsin. He was bragging it was 57 degrees when he left. But he is here tonight, and I think he's back there. He's going to join Miss Felicia during their report. But that also segues me. I think Mr. Benefield had something to share. So, Mr. Benefield.
Yes, in years past, we've had, had a busing committee. We still have it in place. Just like to reactivate it. Mr. Johnson would like to meet with some board members tomorrow and talk about some of the issues that ECHO has been experiencing. We got Mr. McTwire and Mr. Danzy on that committee, standing committee, and myself. We need 2 more board members for a meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Do we have any volunteers? Got Ms. McGaskey and
I will.
Pastor Harris. Okay. Guys, what this meeting is going to be about is going to be about X and O's and dollars and cents and contracts. It's not going to be about anybody's culture or their policies or any of that other stuff. So this is just going to be about what we're doing with our contract. Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Benefield. I meant to say, I think,
Here.
ma'am,
It'll be here in the boardroom.
It'll be at
9 a.m.
at superintendent's office.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention, I think another reason you're here, Mr. Johnson, is driver appreciation luncheon tomorrow that I think I'm invited to too. So, okay.
Oh, really? That's good. So
Mr. Benefield, if I join that committee, would that be a quorum?
it'll be a quorum.
Okay, if someone doesn't show up or can't make it, will you let me know?
Sure.
If I can't, you can come.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right, so, Mr.
The
Benfield?
reason is we don't have time enough to
Oh,
advertise.
I totally get that.
Yeah, okay.
No problem at all.
Go ahead.
So that just concludes my superintendent report for the month of August.
Okay, thank you. Before we move into the further in the agenda, I'd like us to take a moment to remind the public that school starts next week, and I know you'll be looking at those big yellow buses rolling around town, and please recognize and honor those stop signs, and let's back off our children. That's our future. The top parish in northwest Louisiana in gains. That's amazing. 2 years in a row, we're in the top 10 in gains. Only 5 that are doing it twice.
And I'll tell you what, when SPS comes out in November, it's going to be even bigger celebrations because you're going to see some historic changes.
There's some folks I'd like to recognize before we move forward. It's easy for us to sit here as a board and the folks in this room and accept all the accolades that are happening because of the hard work of the folks in this parish. But we've got a lot of retirees that help us get to where we are today. We've got a lot of current teachers to help us get, and we've got 3 former board members that helped us form the vision to move forward 5 years ago and start this journey. And I'd like to recognize Ms. Rhonda Guidros, Mr. Eugene Gorner, Ms. Beverly Broadway for the contribution they made 5 years ago when we started this path moving forward. I think these folks were also instrumental in helping us get here. It's easy to toss around numbers, but there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and tears, and more tears, I'm sure, and teachers worried about their scores. And I just want to congratulate board members. I think you do too. I'll congratulate all the hard work for the leadership of the staff and the teachers of this parish. I'd like to recognize them at this time. Okay.
Mr. Benfield, can I say one brief, I promise brief.
It'll never happen.
I do want to reiterate, because there's a lot of parents who are concerned about scores, but then there's a lot of parents who are concerned with our concern of scores. And so, I try to say this, and I try to get this to our teachers and our administrators, and I try to even tell myself this. Scores are wonderful. Data's wonderful, especially when it's positive. But we can never lose sight in terms of data that these are students, these are humans, that, a mastery in advance does not make you worthy, just as an unsatisfactory or a basic doesn't make you unworthy. And so we always have to toe that line of celebrating success, but not allowing us to cloud the fact that these are God's creatures, children, human beings, and that's just a tightrope we have to walk.
Our students.
Our students, yeah.
Okay, any old business? Any new business? We see the consent agenda and our information reports. Ms. Page.
Good evening.
I'd just like to say that he said what he said, but I still have to say, we had 51 new teachers. And baby, if I have my hands on them and have them for a few minutes, I'm going to get something else out of them. So those teachers have also given us some leads to get some more, and not just teachers. We hire more than teachers. We are very pleased with the group. It was a very diverse group. It was a nice little mixture. It had different age ranges. There are some people that could even relate to my jokes.
Really was.
Some of them went right over their head. But they're smart and they're kind people, and we just like it when we have groups like that. So we're excited about it. It has been a long few days, but it has been so worth it. And we expect such great things. I had them right after lunch, and they were tired and sleeping. I just walked in and went, NPSB, NPSB, almost an A. And they got it, and I told them, because you're not going to sleep on me. But I just look forward to good things. The rest is there. It is. We're hiring some more tomorrow.
we have a good number of certified teachers in this group.
Yes, ma'am, we do. I can't give you a number because we're still kind of in flux, but we're expecting some more, and we're waiting to get results back. Well, the official thing from LDOE, that some of the others have.
And the TAP program is ongoing.
Ma'am.
So, Ms. Page, so of all the new teachers, and there's got to be an overwhelming theme of why teachers and staff have joined Niagara Parish School Board. What did they tell you?
Well, you may not believe this, but some people just like our energy.
Can I interject? Because
You have your
I was sitting in my office today at 2:00, not doing anything except checking emails, and some lady I had never met, she walked in, and Miss Kanika wasn't here, so she just walked in, and she goes, I'm a new teacher, and I just want to introduce myself. And she goes, I left the parish, I came back. She said, I'm so excited to be back. I didn't know about y'all's scores, I didn't know about any of that, but the energy during the past 3 days, it's contagious, and it's so exciting working in a place with the energy y'all have now. And so that was unsolicited, and it wasn't about, I'm trying to suck up to the superintendent. It was just about the energy conveyed at that new teacher orientation. So that was exciting.
So she knew who you were, huh?
Well, she knew who the office was. She assumed who I was because I was in that office.
Yes, so with the, I don't even want to label them, but you know which group I'm talking about. They want to be a part of a movement. They want to be a part of something positive, and the things that were important to us, they're not important to them. They are very vocal. They will tell you what they like and what they don't. I talked to them about that, though. Work on it. They will post whatever but we talked about that too. But they want to be a part of a change. And so that was appealing to some of them. That was appealing, and we like it.
Thank you, Ms. Page.
Okay, thank you.
I can attest to that on this afternoon. You could feel the energy in the room.
Plus, we fed them sweeties too.
Yeah, they ate the sweeties, but I could feel the energy.
Barbecue happiness.
Ms. Washington. All right. Mr. Ryan.
The
Afternoon.
paper that's posted, we had some changes that we did. It was just last minute, but we did have our kickoff meeting for the year just to go over the rules and regulations on July the 18th with everybody, all of our drivers and monitors and staff. But tomorrow we're having our appreciation luncheon tomorrow, and we have some new hires that's coming in. Our pool, our driver pool and everything, we were able to get some new people in. We've been recruiting all summer. Miss Deborah Party's she's been out at the farmer's market every Saturday, giving out lemonade and tea and recruiting all at the same time. She's been setting up tables all throughout the parish, just trying to bring in new drivers and everything. So that's working real good. We attended the Parent Expo, and we got some hits. As a matter of fact, that a lady came that met us at the Parent Expo, and she came in today to do her application as a driver and everything. So whatever works, whatever we can do to get people in, that's what we do. So, we did bring them in. But however, we still are losing people. We had, since the later part of July, we had 4 more drivers came in and resigned, and they got better paying jobs and everything. So right now we're down to 9 drivers that we've lost from the end of school. So that's tough on us right now, but we're still, despite of everything, we're still doing our recruiting. We got to move forward and everything. So we're going to get them in, the best way we can. Right now, we're expecting to have a shortage first day of school. As fast as we're bringing them in, even though we have people going tests, until it's finalized, we can't put them on the road until it's finalized. And they have had some training with other drivers, shadowing other drivers. And so we can't just throw them out there because, at the end of the day, everybody has to be safe. So that's one of our goals we're working on right now. So we're going to continue to work hard, expanding our recruitment and, getting people in. And we just ask for your help as much as we can, as you guys can. If y'all know anybody, send them our way. Our website, echorod.com, if they're interested in becoming a driver. And we do offer training, in-house training, so we will get you there, permit and
on the road training as well.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Felicia, can you speak at all about the conversations with DOTD?
Okay, yeah, that was a big concern, especially with Mr. Coleman. So he and I have been talking for weeks about Negative Central, the route we're gonna take. What my plan is for tomorrow at our luncheon for all the drivers that use Negative Central or pick up at Negative Central, we're gonna get on a bus so we can show them the route through the park that they can use to kind of divert it. I know you had mentioned the sheriff department, usually help, but if they could get somebody at that church right there to help when the buses come out on that side road, to help us put us in that lane, that would help. Whatever it takes, it's already gonna be a struggle and congestion. That will be brought up in our meeting tomorrow as well, because, that was out of our hands with DOT. And so, and buses, probably the ones that are gonna use the bypass would have to push their time back some, but we can't really determine until the first days of school how is it gonna be, because we don't know.
How much of an impact
Yeah.
it will actually have, yeah.
So, for morning and afternoon, so.
So do we plan to run at the same times this year, just to see on the
Just
first
to,
day?
just to see, but like I said, some buses don't go use the bypass, and if they can, but if they use the bypass, they're gonna have to push back their times, and so, parents the bus drivers, most of the parents haven't changed, the kids haven't changed buses if they're already in the high school, and they can, reach out and, to the parents and things like that, but, first day of school really will determine which way we need to go and how much time we need to push back and things like that.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the issue is you may have some buses that use the bypass, it will affect their time, some buses it won't affect their time, and then some buses don't even use the bypass at all,
Exactly.
but could still have it affect their time, and then others, so we kind of see, I hate to say it, but see all those times and see how everyone's affected before we can really address it holistically.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where we are on that part. I can't, like, if they call or ask anything, I can't really give them an answer. We won't know until that actual day. To me, I would just be prepared. What I would tell them is, just come out 10 minutes earlier. Even the bus drivers, they know if they have to use the bypass, they already know they're gonna have to leave early because of previous times that we had.
That's part of what we're gonna put out there too, is because the driver may say, I'm gonna be there at 6:45. Don't go inside if it comes 6:55, because they may be a little late on the first time on that. And so we're just trying to have everyone be a little patient, work with us. And I think together we can.
Yeah, I'm thinking especially the rural schools that may have one bus riding in that leaves
Yes.
typically at 7. But if they leave 10 minutes early, that's gonna affect every
Everybody.
bus that has a high schooler, coming to the school, so
Yeah.
every
Right.
pickup, yeah.
Miss Felicia, how many drivers do y'all have?
Drivers total, let's see, I haven't counted since we lost those few. I'm gonna say I average about 45.
And where is it, do you wanna be? What, you have 45?
No, I'm so sorry, I'm thinking something else, no, huh?
I'd say
Yeah.
about 70
Yeah.
total right now, 60
Yeah.
to 70, and that's a combination of sub drivers, occasional drivers, full-time, maybe AM only or PM only. So, with that being said, I just also want to thank Felicia, the team here, Ms. Deborah. Deborah's our new recruitment and retention supervisor that we had announced at.
Where's Miss Deborah? I'm sorry. Oh, hey.
Deborah's in the crowd there, so her plus Melissa Blake, our safety supervisor, as well as the drivers, and Kurt Washington, our regional manager, and then Crystal, our regional recruitment supervisor, couldn't be here tonight, but just want to thank the team, and not just this team, but more importantly, drivers, our monitors, and all of our mechanics, and just everyone, because without everyone going in together and being a team, our number one goal is to get kids to and from school safely, and that's what our goal has always been, and focus into next week is our number one priority. So, and thanks for the support here, and the schools and the principals have been working well, and just, as Dr. Roy said, there's been some fluidness with times on some of the road, and with some of just, as we're making sure that the training of the drivers, as they're being assigned on the routes, that we're taking the time to make sure that their training process regularly, they're doing the ride-alongs ahead of time, they're shadowing and not just, you know, put on a route. That's not how we do it, and that's a shortcut. Our goal is to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and is properly trained, because that's why we're all here, at Eckroyd and here at the meeting today is to focus on the students, so.
Ms. Washington, do you foresee being down 9 drivers affecting the first week of school routes? Do you have enough to make the routes?
No, not all of them. No, it would definitely have to be, loading and coming back and, do another route. We just, we have, people in the, driver pool, but, like I said, with testing and, making sure that they're able to drive, that we just, we don't foresee having all routes covered.
So that's
Okay.
situated with the extra routes, since you're down to 9 drivers. You got that situated with them picking up the extra, since you're,
Yeah, yeah. And that's what we're working on, just to make sure everybody's covered. We're trying to get them at school on time, but like I said, we won't know everything for sure until that first day, how things are going.
Is it fair to say it's similar to where we ended the year?
Yeah.
So in terms of, it affects everything, but logistically it can be covered.
I would say, yeah, we're starting where we ended as of now, and I want to give the team, again, kudos. We had a huge recruitment and retention push this summer, with, kind of recruitment boot camp and the paid training to help people get their permits and to come in, to learn and to get that permit and then do the behind the wheels and the theory classes, all these new standards and challenges as part of the ELDT, or entry-level driver training program, through the DOT. And so we hired, I think, on 8 now, and still have a pipeline of about 6 to 7 still through that training. It's just the time, and also it's part of the recruitment push is the retention piece as well.
Okay, well, if you come in, like, let's just say you come in tomorrow, you have 30-hour classroom time. So, you have to go through and you watch videos, you sit down and they, break everything down to you. And then when you finish your 30-hour classroom time, then you have on-the-road training, over-the-road training, where you learn the mechanics of a bus, driving a bus, backing, and you go through all of that spiel. You have a testing at the end. And then from there, once your trainer feels that you're ready, he feels that you're ready, then you also go to state and take a state certification. You have to go through that and pass that, where you have a state person go through everything, and you have to drive for them, go through the mechanics of the bus and all of that.
so like a 3-week process?
Yeah, about 3 weeks.
So if everything goes well from start to finish, no hiccups, it's about 45 days for a person with a regular driver's license to get their CDL. No hiccups.
And through that entire time, there's the driving test, but there's also what we find is that permit test. That's the written test just to obtain that permit to be able to then practice the behind the wheel and all the skills test, that can be the challenge. So we also have it where people can come in with one of our trainers as more of a tutoring program in a way, not tutoring, but how do we help people read through the manual, talk through it, so as you're taking the test, you're more prepared on the written part to get that permit, which that's kind of an undefined period. It's how good of a test taker you are. But within, as the team mentioned, talking about once you obtain that permit, right, then you have at minimum 14 days, but it can go up to that 3 weeks. But through that time, that's all paid training from Echo-Ride to help invest in the candidates and the employees, because otherwise it's hard to tell someone to hang in there for 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks, depends on how good of a written test taker you might be, or how much time you have to study. So that's some of the things that we do to try to make sure that as someone comes in, that they're getting that source of income, they're able to learn and go through that paid training. That is something that we do to just say, hey, this is our investment to you and the community to help get you into that seasoned, experienced, safe driver position.
Ms. Washington, I'm sorry for the extra questions,
Oh, it's
but
okay.
thank you for everything that you're doing. I know the start of school is really tough time for everybody. But I was wondering, do we have a way, I know you won't know exactly what routes will be short, but do we have a communication that we can send to parents so they can be aware? Because I know, parents are getting ready to go to work and they can't leave their kids unattended.
Well, I know at the end of the year or the summer, we were getting with Ms. Diaz, and we gave her some information to try to, or we can set up, be part of that robocall system. But I'll get with her just to see how far along we are with that, and just from there,
So what we were working on, I think Ms. Broadway brought this up because it was we wanted to be able to have Miss Felicia be able to immediately send out information to parents of specific buses. The problem is, in our J campus system at that time, students weren't identified by their bus route. So then she was working on doing that. So we have to check with her to see how much of that information has been uploaded accurately to where
Well,
that system will work.
even if there was like a mass communication that said, just one text or whatever that went out to every parent, these routes are late, so they'll see it and know if their kid is on that route. Because I feel like the more parents know up front, the less they can be upset about. If the,
I can take care of that. If we do something, because we're really trying to work to this really specific one.
Yeah.
But if we're okay with a broader version,
I
we
think
can implement
initially that would
easily.
be good, because I know as a parent, I would not be upset if I got a text that didn't apply to me, because some parents somewhere needed it, Especially if we know that we're gonna be short routes going into school, anything we can let the parents know would be greatly appreciated.
It kind of helps set that expectation so parents and families can plan around those times versus, reacting. Try to minimize that as much as possible. Obviously, there's
So-
no shows, people sick. but-
I can talk to Ms. Diaz tomorrow about it, and I can, when we meet, when we come to the lunch, I can.
We really appreciate you. Thank you.
You guys?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Afternoon, how are y'all? We got some exciting things going on. I don't know if all of y'all's had a chance to go in the schools and look at the floors and the painting and everything that's going on. New benches in some areas, working on locker rooms and stuff at Lakeview. We got 3 new scoreboards going up at different schools. We got one going up at Natchez Central for the football field, one going up starting on the 14th at Lakeview for their football field. Marthfield has one going up for their baseball field. So we've been pretty busy. Had a lot of AC issues over the parish. 114-degree heat is not very nice to any of our AC equipment, I promise. Had several freezers also go down because of the wonderful 114-degree heat. Other than that, it's just been a lot of painting and a lot of waxing floors and a lot of little moving parts.
Mr. Shirley, we had the opportunity to go around a lot of these different schools and host these town hall meetings in the gymnasium. Some of these gymnasium floors are absolutely amazing.
Yes, sir.
They truly
And
are.
we are fortunate enough that the way we're doing it, we're getting to do most of those every year. We're getting to polish them and keep them nice and looking good. So they probably have been redone since you actually went in them for the town hall meetings. They've actually probably been re-waxed and finished.
Wow.
So we're doing good.
And one in Providence, I was just, it's like, I mean, brand new.
Yes, sir. It's awesome. So we're making some headway. We're getting ready for the school to start. We're not quite ready yet, but we're knocking it out slowly but surely.
I had a couple questions just about small things, just for some updates that have come to me. So the HVAC at Marthville in the elementary building, I think it's all controlled by stores now.
Yes, sir.
They set the timers on them. So they're currently set to shut off at 4 p.m., and that's a struggle right now because it's the week before school and teachers are trying to get ready in at 4 o'clock.
If it's set at 4 p.m., it's not supposed to be, because it's supposed to be set to 6 p.m. already. It should have went to the fall schedule. I will check that to make.
That was gonna
make
be
sure.
my recommendation, but I just wanted to put that one on your radar.
Yes, sir.
'cause it
They're
has been an
supposed to be
issue.
set from, the actual morning warm-up is supposed to kick off at 3 a.m. and the actual units go down and go into the afternoon idle at 6 p.m. That's our fall schedule, so I will double
Okay,
check that.
I think they had 3 classrooms that were doing that correctly and the rest were not.
Okay.
And the second thing was they put in those new mini splits and they took out the thermostats. And so they can't control anything in the rooms, and then they were told, oh, well, y'all weren't even supposed to have the thermostats last year, you're supposed to get remote controls. And they said, well, when are we getting the remotes? And they said, we have no clue.
Well, actually, the remotes were there, and they have mysteriously gone missing.
All the remotes?
Yeah. So we're currently trying to replace those remotes, and getting them right now is not very easy. So I want to say the last time we looked at it, we had about a 3-week lead time. That was about a week ago. So we still got them on order. We've got remotes coming, but every one of those units come with one of those remotes, and we have no idea where they ended up.
I just wanted to put that on your radar because those can't.
But we discussed that the other day.
Okay.
Me, Mr. Gordy, discussed it, and we do have them on order.
Okay.
We're just waiting on them to come.
Good. And then the second thing were the new doors that were put in the elementary building. Apparently they've been hung,
Yes, sir.
all wood doors, and
being-
they're coming back in October to put the hardware in
They're
them.
putting the hardware on. It was supposed to be in a certain lead time. Now the manufacturer gave us a 2-month extra lead time. So we have temporary locks on them with keys. Mr. Gordy has the keys, so he should be issuing those to the teachers. We're gonna finish those wooden doors next week, and they'll look all nice and pretty for you. But like I say, we understand what was going on, and we were told one thing, and now we have another. It's just like Natchitoches Central, for y'all that know that Natchitoches Central's field house actually had a motor go out on one of their units. We were told it was a 2-week lead time. I got a call yesterday. That 2-week lead time turned into a 10-week lead time.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I appreciate you. I just wanted to put it on your radar and those two.
But I
things.
will check that schedule just to make sure, because it is supposed to not go off till 6 o'clock.
And they're gonna go ahead and finish those doors
Yes, sir.
when the kids get there, hopefully.
Yes, sir. We're gonna start that Monday morning.
Sir.
So we'll have it done Monday and Tuesday. They'll start on Wednesday.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Shirley, Fairview with the multiple plumbing leaks, we
have repaired those leaks. They're done. We have 2 more areas that we're putting the wall back in the cafeteria. That should be done Monday and Tuesday. I haven't received the newest of the testing yet. We just sent that off Thursday. It takes about 4 days to get it back, 5 days. That was this last Thursday. Well, evidently I still haven't gotten them back. Now, I will tell you that the test results, the silica in the water, it was so low. It was like at 0.01. It's supposed to be at like 10. We're at like 6.1 right now. So we're bringing it up, but we don't want to open those pumps up and just gouge that stuff in there and then wind up having too much, not enough. So we're building it up, and probably we actually turned them up again yesterday. We're taking the next sample Tuesday. We should have the results for that, and then once I do, I can report the results. But we are coming up. Everything's looking better. The copper that's in the lines, it was pulling all the copper out of the lines is what it does. So basically, all the metals, it's toning that down. So it's going to be a slow process, but we just can't go all full bore at it like I want to.
Last month, me and you talked probably a little bit. Eloy knows about it. There was some issues with mowing. Do we feel that that's been addressed and better?
It
was at multiple schools too.
It was all schools.
Okay.
Okay. It is getting better. He actually had to add about 4 more individuals. Okay. Because he had some leave, didn't come back, so he was running kind of shorthanded. But he added 4 more individuals. We're still not as good as we need to be, and he still needs to add more people. But he's currently working on that now.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Shirley, quick question. On the Gold Honor list, I see there is an item for awning is scheduled for demolition soon. I had a parent reach out to me who was really concerned that it wouldn't be done before school starts.
Done.
Oh, it's already done? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's down. It's down, and all the wonderful wires that was hanging on top and all that, that's
Good.
The safety issue at the Natchitoches Junior High with the doors, did it get resolved? I remember us having a conversation about.
It did, but now we have 3 more that we're having the same issue with. So I get to go over there tomorrow and play with those and figure those out. So we had it fixed. Now we've got 3 different doors that we're having some issues with, so I get to go over there and spend a little more time tomorrow.
Mr. Shirley, I think, Mr. Wascom is trying to show everyone how clean
Oh.
the floors are at, Natchez Central.
Let me zoom in here, this right here.
In the new
It's all
signage.
new. The floors are our new standard, you can see here.
That's about the cleanest those floors have been.
There you go. That's the, if you've been there before, you'll know how different that is.
I could show you the befores and afters, but I really don't want to show you the befores now that you've seen the after.
Okay, there you go. We have, since this now, it looks so good, this red portion over here is kind of out of place now because it all looks so good. So we're actually now going to spend some time replacing some of this before basketball season.
And where you see the brick that you can still see right there in that area around those, that's also going to be painted, so it will not be brick. It will actually be painted about the color of these walls. That way that it actually pops a little bit more and it won't be on the brown brick.
So that's, when it mirrors the lights shining above it like that, that's really nice clean floor.
It's nice. We've got some good looking floors now. They're doing extremely well. Makes me proud anyway. If it doesn't any of y'all, it makes me.
That's, we've come a long way.
Anybody else have any other questions?
That corner right there
I'm sorry, Mr. Walson. I didn't mean to giggle.
That's
Well,
the
if you've seen the
entranceway,
before
for them to
videos,
come
you'll
through,
understand what he's talking about.
Into the high school.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, guys, thank you.
Where they go to the basketball gymnasium?
Thank you, Mr. Shirley.
The volleyball.
Ms. Hicks?
I'm sorry, or the volleyball.
Mr.
Top of mind.
Benefield, I need to ask something, I'm not sure. I didn't ask Mr. Shirley because I didn't think there was something that you had to deal with. It was something I had inquired about before school was out, about a building, a metal building for the alternative school because of the things that the principal had stacked up in his office.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I have forgotten, and so I need to get with Mr. Wascom tomorrow, and we need to discuss that. My apologies.
Okay.
They need more space.
Like a
Yes.
like a shed, like
Yeah,
a
they need
just
more
need
space.
We
storage.
move NVA over here, they'll have that building.
well, even in the interim. So let's just talk about it. Oh, sorry. We'll talk about it offline and see what we can do for him.
Yeah,
My
'cause-
apologies on that, Miss.
Okay, it needs to be addressed, because he has boxes stacked up in his offices, and they've been there for months on end. So I would think that we would have some money to
Yes,
take
ma'am.
care of a building for.
Thank you for reminding us, because sometimes I act older than my age.
That's all right, we got some older ones here. Double Mr. Matwired.
You volunteered for that, Emil?
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a kind of a little summary there. Our claims last year totaled over $3.5 million, which was an increase of over $300,000 from the year before. So we were really pleased to see that. Our summer school was successful. We had a lot of kitchens operating, and that generated an additional $82,000 in claims for our program that, of course, we wouldn't have if we didn't have summer school. Not on the agenda there. I always have stuff to add after I've submitted this. We did participate in the Parent Expo and had several things at our table that the kids could sign up to put their name in the raffle for, and I got to meet 3 of the most wonderful students who came to my office the next day to collect their prize. We saw tons of parents. They took the menus and visited with us, and it was really neat to see the kids be excited about going back to school. We have a new cafeteria manager at NJH, Miss Donna Conde. She's one of our own who worked at Natchez Central previously. And so she's been training and working, and we're just very excited to welcome her as a new manager. We're prepared for the school year and ready for students. The freezers are packed, and I have played in them all week long because the heat has been wreaking havoc. So if you had been by my office Monday, I was in jeans, a t-shirt, and Brooks tennis shoes working in the warehouse. So that was not a fun place to be in the 100-degree heat. After I prepared my report, we had our state call on Tuesday, and I learned that a House Bill 1 was signed into law by Governor Edwards. The new law allows students who qualify for reduced price meals by household size and income levels in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program will now receive their meals at no charge.
They are still, and I want to be clear about this because I don't want parents to be confused. You still need to apply. If your student qualifies or you think that they will qualify, they will have that status. They will still be classified as a reduced price student, but there will be no bill at the end of the month for those students, which is really nice. Now, we will still collect those monies, but they are going to come from, let me see, I've got this written down here. Appropriation control, so from the state. We'll pay, it's like 30 cents for breakfast and 40 cents for lunch for those meals. So it will be coming from a different funding source, so those students will not be charged this year or any other year is how it's written. So that was something that I found out on Tuesday. And also, we are going to receive a 4th round of supply chain assistance funds. They haven't given us the amount yet, but I do know that it has to be dispersed by September 30th. So I'll be able to share that with you when I learn how much it'll be. Do you guys have questions for me?
I have a quick question. The reduced lunch, does that apply to middle lab and elementary lab? Are they still separated?
They are still separated, so of course, all of our other schools are CEP, so they are not charged at all. But at middle and elementary lab, if you do not qualify for free or reduced, it's full price, full pay. So yes, those are the 2 schools this will affect. So, and the application is online. You can do it there. And we also distribute paper applications at the beginning of the school year. And if there's any question about that, of course, they can call the office, and I'll be glad to talk to any parents that may have concerns or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I ask for 2 other informational reports, if we can do it from now on, because they normally come here. Desk Department and federal funds.
Okay. Would y'all like that on a monthly, or is that more of a quarterly, or do you have a preference? Desk probably, I would advise, and y'all, desk could probably be more on a quarterly, whereas I would think federal programs, Ms. Rochelle, you could probably have updates on a monthly basis, right? Yeah. Would that be okay?
That'd be okay, because I think they work,
Yes, sir. That's not a problem.
I'd like to, since they're here.
Yeah, I'll put desk on quarterly, and I'll put federal on monthly.
Do you have specific information you want on there, or just like what's going on in the department?
Just what's going on.
Okay. We can make that happen.
Thank you.
As it relates to the sales tax report, remember how I used to present a big report that came over from the,
Go down to the second page, go
yeah,
up.
go all the way to the bottom and come up 2 pages? I still have those reports coming to me, but this is a much more complete report. I prefer this one to show y'all. If y'all like this one, let me know. Basically, I just put in where it says white, the white versus these, actually mine are orange, so yeah, it's kind of orangey. When I put that number in, it tells you what the monthly difference is, and because that's the only month reporting, it's going to be the same percentage all the way down. We'll actually have a running total and also estimate at the bottom, based on the current trends, what your total yearly will be, so y'all can know exactly how it's impacting our budget immediately. Also, it gives you 10 years of historical record, and also at the bottom here, this bottom line here tells us what the amount of change is over the previous year. And you can see we had 1 year here, 23% growth in sales tax, and 13% and 16%, and then last year was a 6.3%. With only 1 month reporting, we were 1.89% down. Wouldn't necessarily worry about that, but I don't expect sales taxes to grow much this year. I think we'd be lucky to get out with flat growth.
Mr. Walsham, is that 7.99? Is that a projection based on history?
That's the average increase over the course of the entire 11 years reported here.
Okay.
However, this 98% says that since 10 years ago, the amount of sales taxes we have collected has doubled, almost 100% increase. That's pretty significant.
Well, that includes some of the raises in there, some of the tax.
No, this is the total sales tax, the 2.5% that we collect. Our sales tax money is in there for, the breakdown of the sales tax money is in there. But this is normally the number I usually give y'all in those other reports, the 1,869,000. I think this is much more helpful to me because it gives you a plan. It tells you where we are on a rolling balance and it tells you what's going on. I can also make available as well both reports if y'all would still like the other report. Do y'all like this? Does this make more sense?
It's clear.
Huh?
I think this is clear.
This is so simplistic. I can just drop one number and have it immediately available for y'all, other than waiting. But I want y'all to understand that 1.869 million is the whole 2.5% sales taxes that have been distributed to us. Instead of this 15-page report, I think this is much more helpful. So if this is okay, I would like to start presenting it in this manner. And then it's very helpful, and even to the public that go online and look at our records, they can see the collections and how it's been going through the years. Okay, so it's actually a report, in my opinion, of the health of Natchitoches overall, economically. So, okay, so this is my report. Now I can always get it to y'all on the first meeting. Don't have to wait till they send it to me. And with that.
Change dates, so.
Well, see, normally, like, I am not able to get it to you on the first meeting. I always have to wait to give this report on the second meeting because of how I have to wait for the report to come from this. But I always know how much money they hit the bank with. That shows up before the end of the month, so I can always give you this report. Yeah, is that confusing?
No, we're good.
Good? Okay, okay, that's good. All right.
Everybody sent it on the 20.
One item that we don't have on the information report, but I think this is something that's kind of key to the strategy that we've taken on. Mr. Mike Stewart took a couple of teachers down for training in Baton Rouge, first part of, or in July, and Miss Felicia has been working with him on some other areas. Can you give us about 3 minutes on where y'all are with our manufacturing technology? As part of our dual enrollment program.
It's like Dolly and Kenny Rogers.
As most of you already know, we started this effort around January, but I think it's something that's been a long time coming. I've known Mike, Mr. Mike a long time, and we've really just been able to really just take out a lot of distractions and really get to work on this. So we will have our first industrial manufacturing course starting next week. I think we'll have about 10 students to start. Mike and I have been working a lot to get our tools together, to order the necessary materials. We've been making some contacts with
Cleaning out shops too, huh?
Cleaning out shops, improving shops, getting concrete laid, cleaning out shops. Yes, oh my gosh. How many dumpsters did we?
You don't need more than that.
Okay, no, we don't, yes, it was a lot.
Can I say something there about the cleaning out the shops? I think, Dr. Eloy, something needs to come from you to these principals that this cleaning out the shop stuff, it needs to stay pristine.
Maintain, yeah.
That's right.
These partners show up and they
Gotta
see
catch y'all.
what we have seen when we walked in there, they won't come back. There's safety issues and things like that, and these kids don't need to be taught that and go out into that industry. So I think that the work they put in, I've had to do it in places before too. It's a very big deal. Thank y'all for that.
So you have a partner meeting scheduled too, don't you?
We do have a partner meeting scheduled with Alliance on August 15th. We also met with IP Mansfield, IP Red River, and we are waiting to schedule something with Weyerhaeuser. We've also visited Royal Martin this summer and did the tours, and of course included them on all of our conversations. So this has been good to hear from our business and industry partners so that we can make this course what it needs to be. And we're really excited because I think we got a good group of students. They're very excited as well. So we'll be able
You fill the 10th slot?
We do have 10.
Good.
So hopefully we'll be able to give you guys a report maybe in September, October, and let you know where we are. But I'm thankful for the partnership He has expertise, 40 years of industrial manufacturing. I mean, we just don't have that, you know, so it's been valuable, and I think we've worked pretty well together.
Very well.
I think when y'all bring y'all's report, y'all should bring some of those kids up here too.
We could.
We will. We had a good turnout, a lot of applications turned in.
Mike, please speak into the microphone, because the general public can't hear you.
But to touch on our trip to Baton Rouge, Billy, we went down and took the CITF training, which is a full course designed by organized labor. Because y'all know you got several different programs. You got NCCER, you got CITF, you got the old C4M programs. You got a lot of training programs out there, but we feel as a group that the CITF is more suited for high school seniors. And I got to thank all of our manufacturing partners, because everybody that we have visited with has loved what we've had to say, has approved greatly on the program that we think that we have presented to them. And pretty much every one of them has said that they will hire every 18-year-old senior graduating student the day they graduate if they're 18 years old.
I think it'll help their retention
In
too.
a year is not going to fix the problem in Natchitoches Parish, but it's a start.
Yes.
It's a start. The other issues with these types of courses is it takes more than one instructor to have more than one class. If this grows, maybe one of these days we'll have one of these at Lakeview and one at Natchitoches Central. We just got to get the right leadership and the right people in the right places, and maybe we can start producing 20 students a year. It's not that we're not going to have the opportunity, because we've got a lot of AB honor roll students that have applied for this. This is not Coles. This is #1 Class A students that are concerned with their future, that want to stay in Natchitoches Parish, and now we're going to teach them and show them how to do that.
I wanted to also say the 3 days that they spent in Baton Rouge, they learned, they went through several courses, math for the trades, there's a carpentry CITF, a welding CITF, millwright CITF. So Mr. Mike went down with our instructors from Lakeview and also Natchitoches Central, and they all got all 3 things.
Great,
So-
great, awesome.
Oh, the funding. Oh, Mr. Watts wants me to talk about our CDF funding. So a lot of the repairs and everything, none of that's coming directly from general budget. It's coming from our CDF. That's our career development funds. So we've been working over the last few years to really kind of audit high school transcripts, to look at where we are offering courses that we should probably offer this course, because these courses generate $238 per student. So I think we are at close to $400,000.
You've grown your funding.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's
So
awesome.
we have more money to pay for the things that we're discussing right now. So we're hoping to double it more, or double it again, yes.
This is exactly what we had envisioned, and thank y'all for all the hard work. I know cleaning out those shops and buildings, Mike, you had a big hand in that.
We got a trailer load going to the
Cleaning
maintenance
out,
shop at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're not.
And Mike, you're welcome for all that help I gave you on all that.
Look, I just rode a couple
What day was
times over
that?
there with them. Oh, wow, y'all, yeah, it was a lot of things, but they needed to know that they could just, y'all, I said, just let it go. Let it go, it doesn't matter where it came, let it go. So, that worked out well.
Thank y'all.
Are there any other questions?
What grade and,
This is 12th grade.
12th grade.
Yes, because the students really need to come in with some shop experience already. So we actually, on our application, asked them to tell us what types of courses they've been in. So a lot of them have taken welding already, or carpentry. They've been through the ag kind of classes, so they've been in the shop before. It's not for a newcomer. It's for students that have already gotten those skills, but then we're trying to channel it.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Good start, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Great report all the way around. Ms. Palmer.
Finance, facility services and insurance. 7A, discuss and consider approving teacher leader incentive pay levels for 2023-2024 school year.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so a few things on this. Last year we brought this to you. I believe we settled on 600 and 500, and I told you I was going to come back and we were going to increase it. And we were able to do that. The main way we were able to do that is through budgeting of ESSER 2. ESSER 2 runs out September 30th, as in like next month. And many of our budgets came in under budget. And so we were able to look at those budgets and say, you know, we budgeted, I don't know, $1 million for this, but we only spent $750,000. So by taking those savings or whatever you want to call it, we were able to put a package together to affect our performance pay for this year. So that's significantly higher, as you can see, 5 times higher for each area. We also put, I think the board was concerned last year about having too much differentiation between principals and teachers. And the discussion was this year, you know, we feel as though when we look at scores, we don't want to put a thing and say principals are more important or teachers are more important. The studies will tell you that they're both important. The buildings can't run without them. So we thought it was smart to put them on equal footing. One of the things I will tell you, last year I told you we were going to make this more complex. We are still in that process. We are working with LDOE and NIET to refine that process to the point that the complexity point we talked to you about. I'm just going to tell you that is not going to be fully implemented until next year. It did increase in complexity in the sense that this is a new rubric, the NIET rubric, which is more rigorous, and we also believe there is more inter-rater reliability between principals than we've ever had before. We have more agreement, and when, I'll be honest with you, when in the middle of the year we may not have had that agreement, perhaps it came from teachers, teachers saying that they weren't getting the level they wanted. We went back and redid those observations for those teachers. So I know the concern last year was, well, we didn't have, maybe we had an easier or oftentimes a tougher round than this school did. I feel there could still be some of that discussion, but I feel we're in a much better place. The other question that was brought up a lot is my score. Would I be better off at a struggling school, or would I be better off at a school that is maybe an A status? What I think it's important to understand is how we get these scores. 50% of the score is going to come from the teacher's SLTs and or VAM. SLTs by law have to be set by the teacher. We have reiterated that constantly with principals that a principal can have an effect on the SLT, but it has to be a discussion with the teacher where we toe 2 lines. Rigor, because it has to be rigorous, but then the other part of that is it has to be fair to the teacher. You know, I can make a very rigorous goal. I can say, hey, I should have 100% proficiency. But if your students came in there all unsat, then is that a fair goal? No, it's a rigorous goal, but it's not fair. So we feel as though the SLTs with teacher input are in a good place. We also feel like the NIT rubric is also in a much better place than we were with the Compass rubric. And so even if a teacher were to not do well on their instructional piece through the NIT rubric, they would have had the chance to upgrade that through SLTs, and also vice versa. And then when you talk about VAM, VAM is set by the state. VAM is an incredibly complex mathematical formula that what it does is it takes your class demographics, say you're 50% white, 50% African American, split gender-wise completely, socioeconomics, you're 100% high socioeconomics. They're not going to create a VAM for you comparing you to students who don't look like that. They're going to look at every student compared to those same type of students throughout the state and then say, how did you perform against, or how did those students perform against their peers, and then rank you on a percentage value. Either you're in the 99th percentile, which means, hey, you're the best. Only 1% is possibly better than you, or you're at the 1% on the other end of the spectrum, whereas that means 99% of folks are doing better than you with those same kids. So, all that being said, this is something that I think we told you when we started this, every year is going to be a different budget. And last year was 500 and 600 because we were literally dipping our toe. I think now we're waist deep because we're putting more money out there, but we don't have the complexity yet that we want. We're getting there. I think next year we're going to be doing a cannonball to really push this analogy I have going. But I also think, based on two things, that money will still be there next year because we will have the ability to possibly look at ESSER 3 if need be. But the other side of this is, even if ESSER 3 is not an option, which it will be, we also will find out in a month if we get that grant we spoke about. And if that grant comes through, then we would be able to also keep these same levels there. And so again, every district that I know who does effectiveness pay, which I'll be honest, I was with a bunch of superintendents yesterday, a lot of them are going that direction in terms of differentiated pay, but they want to do it in this way. They don't want to pay a math teacher more than the PE teacher, but they want to pay based on results. Everything we're seeing on it is getting more and more. The only thing that's going to change from year to year is the budget for this. But I feel like we're getting very efficient at getting these budgets, whether it be from, and ESSER's going to be gone, don't get me wrong, but whether it be from title funds or grants and things of that nature, I think this is something that's going to be sustainable because I know whether it be Lee or Sarah or them in combination, we just have a much better grasp of where we are with these things. And I think this is going to be something that the legacy of this board and the previous board is one of your big legacies, I think, is going to be teacher incentive pay. And here's the fun part. Because this money has to be spent before September 30th, 2023, I can tell you, I can't give you a date, Ms. Tankia, but I can tell you that they would receive this prior to September 30th of 2023.
That's the truth.
Well, that's wonderful.
Correct, Ms. Rachel?
Yes.
Yes.
But please tell me again, why the principals, well, what's your reasoning for the principals getting paid the same?
So everyone gets an effectiveness rating. Now, principals, their effectiveness rating, you could say so a teacher, let's take a second grade classroom, say it's completely compartmentalized and they teach all those students all day. That teacher has a responsibility for 30 students on their SLTs. The principal has a responsibility for 300 students on their SLT. So I'll be honest with you, in that respect, you could actually argue for them to have more, but we believe.
No, you can't, because who's doing the work?
Exactly.
The teachers are in the classroom.
We agree with you. So that's where we think it balances out. There's more responsibility on the principal side, but there's probably more in-depth work with the students on the teacher side.
No, all the responsibility is on that teacher, teaching all those 30 kids. She or he is the one that's bringing those scores in if they score high. I mean, the principal has a job, but the teacher has the priority in getting those kids to get those test scores at a high level. So that they should not be getting paid the same thing.
One thing you gotta think of, you got one principal, you got a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
But
And
one thing
I'm
you
just
gotta
talking
think
about
of
total
is you
dollars.
have the teacher in the classroom doing the teaching.
So
And it's not just teaching. They're doing teaching and everything in other roles also. So
I don't disagree, but what I would say, maybe to just a little bit of friendly pushback, is that all the data will say the most important leverage point for student growth is the teacher. But in terms of moving a school forward, in terms of SPS and moving a district forward, those principals play a role in it's kind of like saying,
they do.
Who won World War II?
Well,
They
soldiers
do
won
play a
World II,
role,
but you gotta have
but
generals.
they do play a role, but they should not be getting the same as the teacher.
Well, they're
That's not
also
fair.
responsible
That's
for
not fair.
selecting that team.
That's right.
for selecting that team and keeping that team and
Right,
motivating
that's
that
what-
team.
That's what it really is.
That's where they come in.
The school.
And if,
Yeah,
and
the
I'm gonna tell you, they're in charge of that physical plant. They're in charge of everything that goes. and
They
if-
are, but they're not in that
When that
classroom.
parent comes
Morale.
boiling
say
mad in
what
that
you
school,
want.
they're
Those
not
guys-
looking for the janitor.
I can say what you want
They're not
about
looking for the
those
lunchroom
principals and
lady.
what they doing.
They're
I'm
looking
not
for that principal.
I'm not downplaying those principals, and I'm not saying that they should not get anything, but I'm saying you cannot compare what they do to what the teacher does.
So some more friendly pushback for you, Ms. Tankia, is
Can y'all be friendly?
is that we do in terms of economics put more value on the principal position in general because they have higher pay, and that is not simply because of their 12-month versus 9-month employment. It is because the recognition of the increased responsibility. So,
So that's another reason. They already get paid higher than the teachers.
I gave you talking points.
So, yeah.
I don't think any principal on the planet would say that it's not primarily the teachers that make it happen in the classroom.
Right, so-
Maybe a
I will
partial
agree with you on that.
increase, maybe a partial for the.
What?
So what I'll tell you,
Yeah.
originally,
That's not fair
originally,
at all.
if you recall last year, we actually had the principals higher. And so this is a reaction to that initial, there was consternation from the entire board of it should not be higher, it should be closer. And so this is an evening of that initial frustration.
Same amount.
And we've seen the scores go up because of the things that we're doing in this parish, and part of it is incentive pay. And I think we need to keep on that track.
And I'll be honest with you, there is a lot of research out there. It is a difficult, if not impossible, discussion to determine full responsibility of. I'll give you for example, Marthaville is about to knock the roof off performance. Their leadership did some great stuff. Their teachers did some amazing stuff. I don't know if I am equipped to determine the percentage of who did more and what, and without being able to do that, that's why I rely on let's just reward these people who just work their tails off, all of them. So that's where I'm at. But I don't think you're, I don't totally disagree with some of your sentiments.
I have a quick question. So who evaluates the principals? How do they have SLTs?
So here, I'm glad you asked that because that is something I need to touch on. So the principals SLTs, so all the teachers will get this in early. They'll get it from their SR2 allotment. Principals, because many of their SLTs are based on school performance score, it will not come in until November. So we'll actually have to pull that from SR3. But to answer your question, all of them have an SLT based, at least one of them based on their school performance score growing that. Then they usually pick some sort of subgroup and I'm taking an example here. If I was at Middle Lab and I would have had an overall SPS, but then they had a subgroup issue with their special ed. They would have had a special ed subgroup SLT. In terms of evaluation, there's an NIT and there is also a Compass leader rubric. And what we do with them is we sit down at the end of the year. A large part of it is saying, did your school grow? But that's not the whole thing. There's rubric pieces about community. There's about leadership, about creating a pipeline for leaders, and they oftentimes have to bring artifacts to say, okay, well, they do a pre-survey where they say, I think I'm all fours, and we say, okay, well, if you're all fours, then we need this many artifacts in this area, and then they have to, and some of them aren't physical artifacts. It could be, I put on the entire teacher leader expo and had this much community involvement. Well, if a principal had put on what Ms. Ingram did, sure, for community involvement, we'll give you a 4 for that. But oftentimes it's going to be artifacts that justify that, and that's Mr. Legrand, and he is their lead evaluator.
It's based on a wide variety of things on the principal. So it's not just the test scores. In response to Ms. Palmer.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it's not. So the principals being highly effective or effective proficient is not strictly based on test scores, right?
Yeah.
It's based on this wide variety of all things that the principal does to run the school. So that may make a little bit more sense, Ms. Palmer.
It makes sense, but
to
me, that doesn't make sense because, we have teachers who put in so much with these kids in the classroom, and again, you know, principals, they do their part, and they make more than teachers. So it's like, I'm just looking at that, 3,000 for teachers, 3,000 for principals. I just feel like the principals getting more than the teachers is not fair.
If you look at it from a percentage point, the teachers are getting a higher percentage.
They are, and if I had to guess, we had a high, I may be completely wrong on this, but if I had to guess, I would think we had a higher number and percentage of highly effective teachers than we did highly effective.
So last year, to give you an idea, we had probably 50-50 highly effective teachers and effective proficient. Now, we also had ineffective and effective emergent. In terms of our principal cohort last year, we had no one labeled in the top tier.
No one was even able to make that. It's very difficult to make that tier. So I
Yeah,
would-
based on their rubric, it's very hard.
Very hard.
So when when this has been considered the performance pay evaluation, because you have some teachers that have to have assistance in the classroom, so you taking in consideration and the resources are being provided for these teachers in need so that it can be on equal footing when you look at the evaluation.
So that's what, me and Mr. Benefield had a conversation specifically about this, because there are teachers who are at a lower performing school who will claim that it's more difficult for them to get this. And then I have people at a higher performing school who will claim it's harder to get this. I believe if you look at the pros and cons of both types of schools, that they both have an argument. And to me, what that says is they both have pros and cons, which means they're probably pretty equal. If I'm at Magnet, I'm looking at growing kids who are already possibly advanced or at mastery. That's very difficult. But then I'm also, if I'm at Weaver, and Ms. Armitres and her staff do an amazing job, but I may need to grow a third grader who is not even on reading level. That in and of itself is extremely difficult. I don't know which one is more difficult. I know if I got two teachers in this room, they would battle out which one was more difficult. But I do think there are struggles that they both have that are both relevant. But I feel as though there's as much equity in this as we can determine. Anytime you give effectiveness pay, there's going to be discussions like we're having now, which I think are important. But I think there's no perfect system. There's just...
May I chime in? This actually is weighted the way y'all are looking at. This is 9 months worth of pay and effort, and this is 12 months worth of pay and effort. It's actually 25% reduced as far as the number of days. A principal, I've never been a principal. I've never been a teacher. I have watched these principals work, and they work hard. And it is hard to be a principal.
What they do.
They are getting paid. They're getting
paid for
this, even though it's
the
the
work
same,
they do.
It's the same number, but it's 25% reduction in effort. They work 25% more of a year than the teachers do. So it is, even though it's the same number, it's for 12 months worth of work instead of 9 months worth of work. So it is actually weighted by effort. But I'm telling you, I've been to each of these things. One thing I'm impressed with was what it takes to be a principal. And I'm proud that we gave more pay to them. Because I had a couple of principals tell me, I'm telling you, Lee, as hard as you work, it's just not worth it. Because it is hard work. Huh?
This is an open discussion.
But okay, to clear it, I'm not saying these principals are not worth what they do. What I'm saying is, if y'all doing that if that's for teacher incentive pay for improved test scores, the teachers are in the classroom.
Teachers are in the classroom doing the work. But
Yes.
I say to you, the best teachers we have, if you look at the percentages, most teachers, the best teachers we have, wouldn't even think about being a principal. They'll say, oh, no, ma'am. I say, have you thought about it? I wouldn't have it.
But there's a difference in pay too. Like principals get paid more than teachers.
The job and the requirements.
But well, maybe we need to think about maybe Nash Parish need to think about raising principal pay since it's so hard.
I know the numbers are the same, 3,000, 2,500, 3,000, 2,500, but there is a significant difference actually in number of months worked.
This evaluation form, is this, state,
Yes, it's, yeah, they're
done by the
rubrics
state
that,
or the,
it's put out by the state,
School
but
district.
it's rubrics that were created by, like Compass was created by, Charlotte Danielson. And then the state adopted it, and then the NIT rubric, again, created by NIT, but adopted by the state, so.
okay.
Yes, ma'am, we report all this to the state.
I like seeing the numbers being close together when it comes to highly effective and effective proficient.
Me too.
Yeah,
I think that's important because teachers are working really hard to sometimes even get to that effective proficient with special needs kids, especially in their classroom. So I like that there's not a huge gap between the two.
And you ask those,
Yes.
those teachers that are doing well, they'll say, my principal supports me 100%, or, and they gives me, my principal gives me what I need, and by the same token, that principal says, that teacher gives us all. So it's a good
And both these
symbiotic
numbers-
relationship.
Both these numbers are significant numbers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Pay for what you want.
Teachers, do they have, do they have aides in the classroom?
Some of them.
Some do, some
Some.
don't.
That's why I was asking this
It's
question.
more about,
If we
age.
got an aide in that classroom, helping that teacher to get highly effective, why not give the aide a incentive?
They
Because
need
that aide
incentive
is
pay, they
working-
do, they do.
Working to get the students just like
Work just as hard.
just like the teacher. And some of the aides is working one-on-one on some of them kids to get their score up. So we're leaving the aide out, and they're working to help to get that score. So I think we need to look at, if we got a full-time aide in that classroom with that teacher, helping that teacher, I think they ought to get some kind of incentive. Don't just leave them out completely, because I would feel like I'm not appreciated if my teacher's getting $2,500 and I've worked that whole year along with her and don't get nothing.
Yes, sir. So,
If you would give them $250 or $500,
so real quick,
it would be appreciated.
before Ms. Rachel, because you're gonna have to share the federal side of things, I'm imagining.
That's a good.
So there's one reason is that we do not have a scientific, research-based evaluation document for those folks. Whereas we do have that for teachers. Now, Ms. Rachel can speak to the funding piece in terms of federal funds.
Absolutely. So
to
with
be
the funding, in order for this to be allowable, it is stipends to retain high-quality teachers. And so that's a big piece there. It doesn't say, it doesn't make any allowance for tutors, pairs, et cetera. For the funding that we're referencing here tonight is specifically for stipends to, stipend pay to retain high-quality instructional staff, teachers, principals.
But if we got high-quality aides doing a wonderful job, we find money for everything else. Even if you don't have the funding, let's find the funding. Because I'm pretty sure what the number of aides we got. It's probably a low number of aides we got. So we are saying, you are helping this teacher get these scores up, but we don't appreciate you at all. Give them something to show.
We are
that
not
you-
saying that we don't appreciate them.
Well, this money here that you're giving the principal and the teacher because she highly affected, and I don't get nothing, you don't appreciate it.
But they still expect for them to perform.
I think
They're still
Specifically to
expected
this,
perform, and they do a great job.
Absolutely.
As Mr. Matoye stated, if it wasn't for the aides, those teachers would not be able to excel as much as they are because they do a lot of hard work.
So I think the main issue, and I get it, because there's nothing I could tell an aide that would dissuade them from their feeling. The problem is so often in a district is that we have these buckets of money that have strings attached to them. And so, if this were to happen, I mean, as I told you, one of the reasons we can do this year is federal funds. The next year, we're hoping to be able to do this through a grant. Well, I can tell you the grant won't allow for the pairs, and the federal funds don't allow for the pairs. So then and Mr. Wassom's trying to avoid my eyes here. The only thing that could afford or would be allowable would be general fund. And then what you're looking at is, and I don't know if Ms. Page knows off the top of her head, a roundabout figure of how many aides we have. I have no clue off the top of my head. But let's just say for argument's sake, it's 50 aides. I think, and she's saying it's probably more than that. But let's work with 50. You know, if you give them $500, that's going to be significant to his budget. I don't know if he can budget that or not. The other thing is, how do we determine who is and is not highly effective? Because I could tell you that, does that mean, am I a highly effective para if I'm in a highly effective classroom with a highly effective teacher? You could say that.
But it wouldn't necessarily be.
Exactly.
Be correct.
You could, and I'm just saying this for argument's sake, this is all hypothetical. You could have an ineffective para in an effective room, and you could have an effective para in an ineffective teacher's room. And so, I'm not disagreeing with the philosophy behind what you're saying, Mr. McTwire. I get it, and I'm not in disagreement. But the funding is an issue in terms of allowability. We do not have a rubric of any sort that's reliable, that I'm aware of, that exists, that measures any of these folks. And then I don't know if general fund could even withstand something of this nature.
Why can't a rubric be created?
The main rubric you'd have in there is the teacher to evaluate that aide. If that aide is not doing it, that teacher gonna know her next year she don't want it in her classroom. And you keep saying,
That's gonna start a whole new window.
and then you're saying, but our budget can't afford it. Well, lately, when we want something, our budget can afford it. When we don't want it, our budget can't afford it.
No, I don't.
Hold up, let me finish.
I don't know if it can
That's
or
what
can't.
we've been saying the last few months. When it comes to something we want, that budget, we'll find money anyway. But when we don't want it, we can't fund it or this and that. So let's get our ducks in a row that if we want something, we can fund it, or we don't want it, we don't fund it. So we need to know what it is. But to me, if I was an aide and my teacher getting $2,500 and I work just as hard as that teacher that year to get these scores up, that'd be a slap in the face to me that I don't get some kind of incentive.
Yes, sir. Well, first off, I want to say, I'm not saying he can't afford it. I'm saying I can't speak for if he can or can't, because we've never had this discussion until today. So it's not me picking and choosing and cherry picking or anything. I just don't know, without talking to that man and him looking at a spreadsheet, if he can or can't.
No, you're saying that if the district can or cannot afford it.
No. I'm saying,
Not the
here's what I'm saying.
director, the district.
The federal programs, it's an allowability thing. That's a federal programs, and as we talked about, federal programs has all these, they won't allow it. I would tell you if they allowed it, the money's there, but they don't allow it.
We need to find a source that will.
The grant that we're investigating, or we've invested in, they will not allow it by virtue of their rules. So then it falls on general fund, and what I'm saying is, Mr. Wascom and I have never had this discussion. I don't know if he has that in the budget. I just don't know. I also don't have a figure we're talking about. I don't even know how many aides we have, so I can't even work you up a roundabout figure on it.
All I ask them to look at it. If we can't afford it, all y'all know I'm a person, I'm a penny pincher. If we can't afford it, you're gonna be the first one to say no. Even if I come up with an idea and we can't afford it, I don't want it. Because I'm not gonna spend taxpayer money, and I'm not gonna spend my money if I don't have it. I got to see that money first before I spend it. So if we could do it, let's do it. If we can't do it, let's do not do it.
So here's the other thing, and I don't know if Ms. Dorothy, if you said it or Mr. McTwire said it, but someone said, why don't we make a rubric? I also need to be clear that I, nor anyone in this room, can make a rubric, create a rubric for this. These rubrics that we're talking about, the Charlotte Danielson rubric, it wasn't even that. This was created from years, if not decades, of research, a meta-analysis, and then it was adopted by the state. So, sure, I could do a little table and say, you know, what's a good pair? A good pair is this, and this. But I'm telling you, it would not be that.
But we never gave consideration for an increase for them. So this is new territory.
Yes, ma'am. But I'm just being very straight with you.
Or
I don't.
performance pay.
Our district does not have the capability of matching the Charlotte Danielson or the
understand
NIT.
that.
Would not be legally defendable.
Different evaluation.
Yes.
But every year, unless I'm wrong, aide that's in that classroom, either the principal or the teacher evaluate. We can go on their evaluation, because I know for a fact, if that aide wasn't no good this year, that teacher's not gonna want her back in her class, him or her back in her class next year. So that teacher and the principal could say, this is a very good aide, they work, they helped her, and go from that.
It has to
And
be
give 'em
some
time.
criteria used.
You know,
It has to be specific
So,
criteria.
so the other thing though, I would say to that is that what we're talking about with VAM, SLTs, and these research-based rubrics is you're talking about an objective evaluation, as objective as it humanly can be, versus what we're talking about, which would be a very subjective evaluation tool. Not that other companies don't do subjective evaluations, but what we would be doing is we would be evaluating two groups on an objectively based rubric and one group on a subjective rubric.
Which is not fair, correct?
Correct. I'll also tell you, and this is actually, I'm going to be agreeing with Mr. Matoir on part of this. I don't mean it in this sense, but Mr. Matoir, you said that it's disrespectful, or we're showing them we don't value them. I value the hard work that our aides are doing. I mean, and I know those are just words, but the research behind proficiency, or performance pay, is rewarding those who have the most immediate, large impact on student achievement, which the research will tell you that the two groups are principals and teachers. It's not diminishing the hard work of these people, but what the research is telling us is that they are not as generally, when they do these general studies, that they are not having as much impact as those two classes of employees. And that's why when you see these systems throughout the United States, I don't know of one, and it's not saying that that's right or wrong, but I don't know of one that goes towards aides because of that research. Again, I'm trying to say that as diplomatically as possible, because I don't want anyone to think I'm diminishing the work they're doing. I'm just telling you what the research says.
No, but these are the types of questions, when you decide on performance pay, in any way, these are the types of discussions that are gonna come up, right?
Yeah.
And it's worth having the discussion around it so people can understand.
100%. So, to both Ms. McGaskey and Mr. Matoir's point, and I guess all the board's points, I think it's a good discussion to have. I will tell you that I don't know if I can give you any sort of indication of where to go next with your specific questions by Thursday of next week.
I'm not talking about, let's jump to it right now.
Yes, sir.
Even if we
Like
wait till next
research
year,
it.
let's look at it.
Okay.
You know, because they didn't get nothing last
That's
year,
fine.
they ain't got nothing, they've never had, got anything. Let's just look at it, even if we can do something next year. I'm not trying to force it on us for starting this school year.
Yes, sir.
Like what's this year, was already budget, because I know
You give me the
no way,
year.
no way we can go that fast, even, that's what, next year, if we can figure it out, even if we can do it in January or something, give them a little incentive after the end of the school. If we can't, we can't.
Yes, sir.
And I'd be the main one to tell any one of because I don't even know an aide. And if they come to ask me, well, we can't do it. I brought it up, we looked at it. Dr. Eloy, Mr. Watson showed me that we can't afford it. Well, we can't afford it. I'm not gonna go with it.
You don't know any age, but they're gonna all know you after tonight.
I know some. And we research it just like we research anything else. If we can't find the answer within our school district, there should be other resources we can go to. We always go to other districts. We go to the Louisiana Board of Education. There are state resources. There are federal resources. There are resources. So until we exhaust the attempt, say that we've tried, because those people do work hard and they are some of the lowest paid employees.
Yes, ma'am.
They make a difference.
Right.
7A, that concludes finance.
Thank you, Ms. Palmer.
I just want to add something real quick, not with this last discussion. I just want to ask y'all, we have budget adjustments which will be presented at the next board meeting, which I promise are part of our audit that we do. And also, Micah is going to present the request to put out for bid the new cafeteria for Marthaville. We were not able to put these on, because we had to confirm all this with Perry Watson, and we couldn't make it on this request. But those are coming for next week.
But that will be housekeeping for next.
I just wanted to let y'all know, that's why it's so slim in business this month, so.
Ms. Palmer, thank you for that lengthy report.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Mr. Danzy.
The executive report, several items on here, and I'm going to defer to Dr. Eloy, and he's going to go through each one of the policies.
Okay, so I believe we have 6 policies, and then when we get to the pupil progression plan, I'll turn that over to Ms. Pinckney. Relatively boilerplate. I think the first 3 deal with emergencies and then disability in terms of board meetings. Policy BCAD has a change to just some verbiage on teleconferencing during the state of emergency. I'll be honest with y'all, it doesn't change a whole lot. The big thing that changes, if you look on the page, it's very small. Those are the changes that will go into place on the already established policy. Basically, this has to only happen during a declared state of emergency. Now, if you looked at the old policy, it would say, like, further down, state of emergency, but now it has to say it at the very beginning. And then it says, in the following conditions are met. We already have all the conditions that are in the policy. It's just adding that verbiage, and then
And a signed declaration by the governor.
correct, yes, sir. So the last one we had with that would have been COVID-19.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Then policy BCBI. This is public participation of our disabled disabled members of the public. Basically, we have to allow them to be able to submit an email containing their public comment. The 2 things that you need to, as a board, decide is where we have the 2 asterisks on each one. How soon do they have to have that email to us before a meeting for us to be able to put it in there? And that's really at y'all's discretion. You could say, it needs to be 4 hours, or you could say an hour. That's up to y'all. And then how many words? If they write war and peace, and we have to read that comment, that would go longer than their
3 minutes.
3 minutes. So we really need to determine what we think is a fair amount of words to be read within the 3-minute policy to keep in line with that. So again, that's for people who are, perhaps they're in a nursing home, they cannot come, but we cannot infringe upon their rights to be a part of
Or
public meeting.
mobility impaired.
Or mobility impaired, yes, sir.
We need those 2 decisions before next week.
No, at next week.
At next week.
The 2 decisions, we
We're
can
gonna
have
vote on
discussion
this.
now about it if y'all would like.
We're gonna vote on this policy regardless. We just have to fill in the blanks there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, we can change it and have it ready for y'all next week if we decide what y'all want.
So what another district did?
So this is brand new out of the legislature. So I'll be honest with y'all, in terms of what it means for us, because a lot of this stuff's going to come to Ms. Kanika and myself. If we get it 2 hours prior, that's a non-issue. 1 hour is probably cutting it close because we just don't know, what if we don't see it in our email within that hour? I personally would feel comfortable with 2 hours prior to.
I think it ought to be 4 hours, because, you might be, have something
I'm,
going on.
that's even better. That's even better. Okay,
So if you Google 3 minutes worth of words, it's 420 words.
Give them 400 words.
400 words.
Depends on how fast Mr. Wascom reads them.
That would be if they wanted information to, if they would send it to you, like wanting y'all to pull up some kind of information.
Now, this would be like public
This is
comment.
like public, okay, I was thinking they would be wanting some kind of information and.
Like public
you might not
request.
could pull it up within 4 hours or something like that.
what would be really interesting is I'm assuming the board president would read it, and it could be public comment about any of us on the board or anything like that, and he'd have to read it. So
We can't do anything that would deface or
No.
defame anyone.
yeah,
But yeah, I agree with Ms. Phelps. I think that's a great place to start. So
4
400.
hours and 420 minutes. Is that what?
400.
400
words.
Okay, 400 words. Yeah, sorry.
I think it's.
Sorry, I was thinking about this board meeting. Sorry.
Up to 400.
Okay, the following policy, kind of similar to that, and never mind, I won't say anything, because we have had this discussion in the past, but policy BCBL, participation of disabled board members in meetings. If you look at it, it says any members of the Natchez Parish School Board who have a disability recognized by the ADA shall be allowed an accommodation to participate virtually in any meeting of the school board in accordance with this policy. They have to submit that request for their accommodations to the president, not less than 72 hours prior to the meeting. And then ultimately, though, the president determines if it is justified or not to allow them to permit to participate virtually. There is an optional piece at the very bottom that, so you have the main policy, and then the optional piece is if the president determines that the member does not qualify for the accommodation, the president shall not notify, or shall notify the member in writing. The member shall be entitled to have an item relative to the request to be placed on the next regular meeting agenda. The board shall vote on whether to allow the accommodation. The member shall abstain from voting. I personally think that option is important, because I do think there are always, unfortunately, people who take advantage of these situations. And I think if that were to ever occur, this would give y'all the ability to address that.
And it does not say how long, what's the time, the window to notify them in writing.
Yes, yes, sir. It does not. This is probably in practice utilized more for what we would call 504 issues, like temporary issues, because I think that's why you're notifying. But you could have a board member who has a longer, more
And we did have that.
sustained issue that they'd have to ask for a longer period of time. So, all right. Any questions on that? Okay. Now policy EBBE. This is also coming out of the legislature here recently, and I informed principals of this today. Basically, in the exiting area where students are getting on buses and getting in passenger vehicles, students have to remain a safe distance from the pickup area, remain behind something. A lot of our schools use those parade barriers, but anything that's a barrier is okay. Students wait in the pickup area until a vehicle comes to a complete stop. They actually, in some of the verbiage, they say parked. That's going to be difficult to enforce because we're not going to go shift the gears while they're driving. Students remain in the appropriate passenger restraint until the vehicle in which a passenger comes to a complete stop. So we're mandating seat belts, which again is difficult for us, but we can very gingerly remind parents to do the right thing there. And then also students in grades K through 3 have to be accompanied by a school employee when they go to the vehicle or the bus. That's currently happening, but we're glad they put it in law. Posting of signage regarding the carpool and bus line regulations. There's another piece of this that they, I guess they didn't put it as a mandate, but they're encouraging that all adults working in the carpool area are wearing the vests, the orange vest. Mr. Wascom bought 420 of those today to accommodate everyone. We do have the optional piece where any parent who is consistently violating these things, and you'd be surprised, they can be written up, given a letter by the principal telling them, you're either banned from the carpool line or any of that type stuff.
So this will be effective immediately.
Yes, sir.
And we probably need to post this on our websites,
Correct.
broken out separately.
Seeing on the TV where some of the school systems that they're telling the parents if they're not getting their kids out, if they don't put their car in park.
Yes.
It got to be in park, and if the child not in a restraint and they're not doing it, and if keep, like you say, if they keep doing it, they're gonna tell them they can't drop their car.
So I sent them. It was a little graphic that we had made. It's 4 things: wear the vest, have the barricade, adult walk the child to it, and has to be in park. If they go with those 4 things, we're good.
And don't step between the vehicles.
So we're talking.
It says material or immaterial. I mean, some schools have cones that
Cones can work.
split from where, as long as that works.
Cones can work.
I'm thinking Weaver, I'm thinking Marthaville, there's no.
Well, actually,
nothing to be
Weaver,
behind.
if you've seen, they have some beautiful new benches. And so I think what Ms. Armitres is going to do is the benches are going to be
In between the cars and the kids.
correct.
Okay.
So there'll be a line of kids sitting on the benches, but everyone else would be behind those benches. And then Natchez Central does the parade barricades. I think Lakeview wanted to do those as well. I don't know if they have access, but we're working with each school to determine what their barricade will be. Any questions on that one? All right, policy KH, donations of national motto signage. If y'all remember, I think Texas did this a while back, and we actually had a law already that we had to have the national motto in our school. Now it has to be in classrooms, and it has to be, the principal has to be okay with it if someone donates it. There were some folks in Texas that when they did this, they put it in different languages with different graphics to kind of play with the politicians, and so Louisiana is trying to be a little more consistent with this. It has to say "In God We Trust." It has to be in a certain font. It also has to be in English, and it has to be approved by the principal, so that way no entity that is donating is putting other stuff on there. And policy DCBA. Okay, so as many of you know, we keep reserves. There is actually no state law on the amount of reserves you have to have, but there is an LDOE policy in terms of our, what's the word I'm looking for, Lee?
Well, and risk assessment.
Risk assessment, thank you. It's our risk assessment. They advise to be healthy.
Bond ratings too.
In bond ratings, but in terms to be put as a healthy or a strong risk assessment, you have to have 7.5% in reserves. So what this policy is doing is we're saying
Of your overall budget.
of your overall budget, we actually general fund budget, we want to put 10% in there, and we want to put it in policy so that way we never dip below that, because the first page is all about the things that you need to have, the reason you have reserves. So, you know, go back up, Lee, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, no, it is the second page, you're right. You want to have a severance pay reserve. If you, in 1 year, have just everyone retires in that year, you got to have that. If you have a larger amount of lawsuits in a year, property and casualty, you know, 1 year we have a hurricane. A lot of parishes learn this the hard way. I'm sure Calcasieu has a humongous amount in their property and casualty reserve area. But these are all reasons to have that. If Mr. Watson, if you go up to the top. So basically what we're saying is the state wants us to have 7.5, but we want to put in policy because we currently have nothing there. We want to have at least 10 because we think that's being safe, protective, and all that. We've also run this by our auditors. They are very happy with this policy and encourage us to move with it.
We have in the past been as low as 2.4%. This is just unacceptable, and we got our rating saying this is unacceptable. So this helps us, and this also explains why we need these reserves in place.
So any questions on that one?
It's $6 million basically in reserves, because our general fund budget's $60 million. It'd be $6 million for that.
And then I have
Pupil progression.
pupil progression, Miss Pinckney. She's been working for about 4 months on this, I think.
Oh, yeah. So the only updates you will see are the things in red, but we try to make it a little bit easier. We can't do any changes to anything in black, and everything that you see in blue is our current policy. So if you scroll through, you won't see very
Just
much.
real quick, we can't make changes in the black because that's
No,
state policy.
That's state policy. Thank you, Dr. Elo. Yes, that's state policy. So anything that we've done is just been to enhance a lot of our policies, but there's not been any huge amounts of changes. So if there's any questions about anything in the policies, please just let us know.
The idea with this, and Ms. Pinckney's probably being a little sheepish on this, the idea is to be more transparent with parents
Absolutely.
and to be more clear. You always had a pupil progression policy, but this should answer every minute detail. We are also she's worked on a companion document called Working Outline, because principals need to be able to take this very large document and look at the outline and see what it actually means for them. A parent, though, and we're really instructing our principals with this, our principals have to follow this, because this is a legal document, a legal agreement with our parents. And if you say, hey, ELA should be worth 40 points at your school, and that means the student doesn't pass, then the parent can come up here and say, well, they overdid this. They broke pupil progression.
Right.
And then we would have to go with the parent because we have to follow our pupil progression. And I think this is the best pupil progression that we have ever put out. It is so detailed and so obvious and so transparent that
It lays it out.
it lays everything out.
It
I'll give you an example. AP classes.
Yes.
We had a lot of people take AP, and then some of those were seniors, and some of them got to the end of AP and they're like, I don't want to take that test. That's not very helpful for us. So now we have in pupil progression, by virtue of taking AP,
You have to take it.
if you want the AP scale, which is that 5-point scale, you have to take the test. So helps us to address some of those things that come up routinely.
Questions?
Wow, there is a lot of changes.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff there.
A lot of changes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
That concludes the executive report.
Board members, before we move on, I need to form a committee, and we'll select it by next Thursday, to concentrate on the superintendent's contract. And I don't know who keeps reminding us that's coming up in November, but somebody keeps reminding us
Well,
it's coming up in November.
It's December of '24 is when it comes up,
Uh-huh.
and there's some dates y'all have. I think y'all have to give me 3 months.
Trigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some triggers there.
And so, the committee will consist of 5 people, and they need to start working on a rubric. And Ms. Phelps has, a couple of months ago, came forth and said she'd like to do it. Mr. Danzy is vice president, I think would be a good fit. But we need 3 more members who are interested. And so I'd like, anyone interested in serving on that committee to contact me either after the meeting or before next Thursday. So, board members, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I will see you Thursday.